June 1948. Post-war Berlin, a city of rubble, stood divided. 3 Western Allied sectors, surrounded by Soviet control, teetered on the brink.
The Soviet Union sought to starve out Western presence, announcing a complete blockade of all rail, road, and canal access to West Berlin.
2.5 million West Berliners were cut off. They had only a few weeks of food and coal left. General Lucius D. Clay, the U.S. military governor, faced a stark choice: abandon Berlin or find an impossible solution.
President Truman's order was clear: Berlin would not fall. The answer lay in the sky: an airlift.
On June 26th, Operation Vittles began. Small C-47 Skytrains, designed for D-Day paratroopers, carried initial loads of flour and medicine. But the C-47s were too few, their payloads too small. To sustain a city, the operation needed to scale exponentially. The mighty C-54 Skymaster, a 4-engine transport, became the workhorse. It could carry 10 tons of cargo, triple the C-47's capacity. Britain joined, launching Operation Plainfare. RAF aircraft, including Yorks and Hastings, flew alongside their American counterparts. 3 narrow air corridors, just 20 miles wide, became the city's lifeline. Pilots navigated a crowded sky with extraordinary precision. The mission soon became clear. A plane had to land every 3 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pilots flew blind through dense fog, icy rain, and blizzards. Landing on short runways, often with no visibility, demanded nerves of steel. Ground crews worked tirelessly, often round the clock. Mechanics battled exhaustion, performing crucial repairs to keep planes in the air. Refueling, unloading, and reloading happened with balletic speed. A C-54 might touch down, offload 10 tons, and be airborne again in 30 minutes. Thousands of German laborers, men and women, swarmed each arriving aircraft, manually offloading coal, flour, and medical supplies. Coal, a precious commodity, kept homes heated and power plants running. Without it, the city would freeze and plunge into darkness. Food parcels, dried milk, and fresh vegetables ensured the population avoided starvation. A minimum of 1,700 calories per person daily was the target. Children of Berlin gathered at the fences, waving at the incoming planes. For them, each aircraft carried not just supplies, but hope. Lieutenant Gail Halvorsen, the candy bomber, tied small parachutes to candy bars, dropping them for the children below, a symbol of goodwill. The scale of the effort was immense. 2 additional airports, Tegel and Gatto, were expanded or built from scratch to handle the traffic. Runways, battered by constant landings and takeoffs, required ceaseless repair. Concrete mixers and construction crews were a permanent fixture. New technologies like ground-controlled approach, or GCA radar, allowed controllers to talk down planes in the worst weather. Pilots averaged 2 to 3 round trips daily, often totaling over 12 hours in the air. Fatigue was a constant battle. The Berliners themselves showed extraordinary fortitude. Rationing was strict, power outages frequent, but their resolve never wavered. They collected rainwater, shared scarce resources, and maintained a sense of community amidst the hardship. Even during the blockade, schools remained open, and cultural events sought to provide a measure of normalcy. The winter of 1948-49 brought extreme cold and heavy snow. Conditions worsened, making every flight even more perilous. Despite the brutal weather, the airlift's efficiency only grew. January 1949 saw a new record: 6,000 tons delivered in a single day. By spring 1949, over 8,000 tons were arriving daily. The Soviets watched as their blockade proved not only ineffective, but galvanizing. The airlift had proven that West Berlin could not be starved into submission.
The world was watching, and the Soviets were losing face. On May 12, 1949, after 323 days, the Soviet blockade was officially lifted. Roads, railways, and canals reopened. West Berlin erupted in joyous celebration. The city had endured, thanks to an unprecedented triumph of logistics and human will. Even after the blockade ended, flights continued for another 4 months, building a substantial reserve of supplies. By September 1949, the Berlin Airlift officially concluded. Over 2.3 million tons of supplies had been delivered on more than 277,000 flights. The cost was high. 79 Allied airmen and 13 German civilians lost their lives in the effort. The Berlin Airlift forged an unbreakable bond between West Berlin and the Western Allies, a partnership born of shared adversity. It was a decisive victory in the early Cold War, preventing Soviet expansion without firing a single shot. The Berlin Airlift stands as a monumental achievement of sustained humanitarian effort, forever reminding us that even in the darkest hours, the bridge to freedom can be built in the sky.